First off, help us pronounce your name.
My government name is Kwabena Abuaje Ofei, but everybody calls me Kobe because it's easier.
Yes.
So it's Kobe Ofei, Ofei. Yes, that's my name.
And comics is your game.
Comics is my game. Actually, creating is my game. When I don't like to say I write or I make music, I'm just a creative. When I wake up in the morning, the first thing I'm thinking about is what do I want to do? That's literally the question I ask myself every morning. To do. Some mornings I wake up and I want to write. Some mornings I wake up and I want to make music. Some mornings I wake up and I want to write an entire screenplay, or I want to go into the kitchen and go try out a new dish or something. I just basically create. I used to do design. I've actually gone back to doing design, but yes, I create basically. That's what I enjoy doing.
Cool. Cool. How do you get all the technical skills to do all of that?
YouTube.
Okay.
YouTube. Okay, so let me start with Lake of Tears, for example. With Lake of Tears, what happened with that?
What is Lake of Tears?
Okay.
Oriental. Completely and totally.
So Lake of Tears.
Yes.
Lake of Tears is a graphic novel written by myself, illustrated by Seto Fiabe. He is an amazing illustrator he and I have done work on several projects, which was not really on comics. It was actually on advertising, which is my day job, if you will. But again, like I said, I don't like to put a label on what I do. I just create. But I am very known for advertising back home. So Seto and I used to work a lot on a lot of advertising related projects. He would come storyboard maybe an idea. We'd sit down, we talk about it. This is how you wrote the script. The client doesn't want this. I said, fuck the client. Do it this way because it tells the story better. So we started knowing each other in a professional capacity. So one day, I remember after I'd switched agencies, the agency he knew me from, Seto reaches out to me and he says, hey, I've got this really, really exciting project and you were the first person I thought about. I'm like, cool, I always loved your art style. I always thought it was great. So I've been looking for a reason to work with you anyway. So exactly what is it? And then he tells me that so there's a problem in a part of our country. Apparently there's a slave village where they get young fisher boys who are sold for as little as, using the dollar equivalent is actually not doing justice to the situation because it's actually less than a dollar, way less than a dollar. I would say like they would sell people for like 2 CDs, and a dollar is probably like what 5 CD right now, and that's how much they sold like the little boys for. And they treated these boys like they were always like this paper. So they buy them en masse and then they go and they have them go deep sea fishing because like they have the nets. So the boys have to go down and go drag the nets out. And some of them die because they get tangled up in like weeds and like the nets themselves and such. And when they die, on to the next one is what they say. And like I said, I'm very sanguine at heart, and I feel like I'm to some degree some sort of empath. I really feel like emotion. So when he said that, that really hurt me, and I was like, yeah, fuck these guys. Let's write about them. Let's fuck their lives up. So he says that, okay, so let's put together a graphic novel basically to bring awareness to what's going on over there. I'm like, apart from that, is there like an actual NGO? He was like, it's funny you say that. There's actually an NGO called Wuthering Heights. That's and I was like, okay, that's great. And he actually mentioned the person who approached him, who was John. And John is also an amazing person. Apparently, John thinks I'm a myth. So, hi, John. I'm not a myth. This is actually me.
Oh yes, you are. You're a CGI. I've just programmed you. Hang on.
I go like, even though I know what I've written is great, and I know it's great because I wrote it, I need to make sure that other people like it. Mm-hmm. So when I am presenting it to someone, I go in with no expectations. Tell me your genuine opinion about it. How do we improve this? So I wrote the story and I sent it to Seto and I was like, tell me what needs to change, because sometimes when I start writing what I want and what I write stories, or I do things that I would like to listen to or read or watch. So I'm like, you tell me if this is okay, if we need to change something. He tells me, you know what, this works perfectly. This works perfectly. So we actually just started working off on the first draft. Tweak this here, tweak that here. And interestingly, this is why I say Seto is such an amazing artist, because after I was done writing, I actually wrote the whole script without illustrations, whatnot. After he was done with his illustrations, I took it and I was reading the stories, and I'm like, no, Seto, okay, so let's cut out this entire chunk of conversation because you've illustrated it here and it makes perfect sense. I feel like let's not over elaborate or over explain. We keep this here. Okay, I'll say a little bit of this together. So basically, there was actual synergy with the words and the images, and that's like a slight back and forth, but it wasn't really that much because, like I said, Seto is a genius at his craft, so he almost instinctively knew what panel to keep.
Yeah.
So it was almost like how we treated the first draft of my script. It was like, okay, this works. How do we now strip more meat and make it as simple as possible? So now it was like getting to the barest minimum to make it as streamlined as possible.
And advertising, really, the goal is to make it harder to stop reading
Exactly.
than to just continue.
Exactly.
And you just pull them through the text.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So that's how we did Liquid
Okay.
Sales.
Okay.
Yeah.
Had you written for comics before?
No. Well, funny you should say that. I wouldn't say I exactly wrote for comics, but I've had run-ins. I've had run-ins with comics. A dear friend of mine who just recently reached out to me, Jonathan Doche. He and I went to school together.
Say the name again. I don't think we heard it.
Jonathan Doche. I call him Elom. Elom, if you're watching this, hi. What they call it. When we were younger, what he would do is he would draw like spaceships, and even then he was just a genius. He was just amazing when it comes to like arts and whatnot. And he would draw the spaceship, and I would sit down with him and be like, yeah, okay, so this is the flux capacitor, and it does this, and when you go through this, you teleport from this side of the ship to that side, and this allows the energy to come from this side. So we basically sit there and name the entire machine that he had built. So I feel like if there's any foray into comics, that probably was it. When I got older and when I got into advertising, I do love comics myself. So I'm a huge Batman fan. I used to collect comics when I was younger, but everybody used to steal. They used to steal my comics, so it got to a point in time where I'm like, you know what, fuck it, it's cool. All right. Then the internet came, so now I'd go online and then I'd read my comics. But there's still just something about having that hard copy that you can never really replicate.
My mum threw out Fantastic Four #1, the first Marvel comic.
Well, yeah, you love your mother. You can't really say anything because I would. Wow, that's a lot.